Hi there, Dead Ideal Boy here, back with another video, and in this one we're going to talk about something that's been on my mind for quite a number of weeks now, and that's the driving standards in Gran Turismo 7. It feels like driving standards are at an all-time low, and I say this from somebody who is consistently driving in the A plus split lobbies on daily races, where the driving standards should be the highest that they should be across the game. I would love to know what level you're driving at and what the driving standards are currently like, because it feels like after 2 years of playing this game that things aren't getting better, they're getting worse. But before we get into the races, if you could hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, that would be amazing. We've got 8,200 plus subscribers now, and if you could be that one subscriber more, that would be a massive help. One day, we'll get to 10,000 subscribers. So now let's jump into the action and we'll see exactly what happened to me and why I made this video. So you can see here that we've got a really strong grid. It's basically a full A plus grid, and you've got a couple of aliens coming from the back as well. So we've got high hopes for this race. We know 2 or 3 of the drivers ahead of us, and they are pretty quick, and they are also very clean drivers. We've raced against the likes of Luke, Stefanuzzi and Kelly many times and never had an issue, so we have high hopes here for a good, exciting, clean race. And Brands Hatch is a racetrack that can provide really good racing. It is unforgiving to say the least, so there's plenty of scope for mistakes, and there's also plenty of scope for overtakes. Now, Group 4 cars around here, the Megane is the absolute meta, and that is what basically everybody is in, so nobody's really got a car advantage either. You can see here though, the Swiss driver was having a little bit of an early battle with Luke, not something that I'm not a big fan of lap 1 battles around the first couple of turns if you're near the front of the grid, because you're just going to let the cars in front potentially drive away. And you can see the 2 French drivers up ahead, they're now they're creating a little bit of a gap, and that's not ideal for us, but we just want to settle in. We're happy here, P5. We've got a potential to stay with the front of the pack if we can just follow on, work together. We've got a lot of good racing potentially to be had here with 11 laps, and 11 laps is actually not a bad race length, but maybe a couple of laps more would have been more beneficial, because the tyre wear isn't really an issue here, but you've got to make a pit stop, so you've got to pit at least once, and you don't need to change tyres because your tyres will last, certainly in the Megane anyway, so we're not really thinking about that, but there is an element of strategy if you want to do that. But my strategy is simply stay on the track, keep pace with the guys in front, get into hopefully a battle for the podium places as the race unfolds. Now, turn 1 is a very, well, it's not turn 1, it's the first hairpin after turn 1, but it's an opportunity if you can make a move up that inside, but nowhere near close enough there on that lap. So we're just going to settle back down, try not to make any mistakes. And if you are a regular viewer of this channel, you will know that mistakes and myself, we're a bit of a infamous duo. We like to shake hands quite often on the racetrack, so I'm just trying not to make any major mistakes. You can see they're starting to gap me a little bit, because I did make a little bit of an error a couple of turns back there, and it's gave them a couple of tenths, but we're quite strong round those 2 right-handers, and you can see it does give us the opportunity now to catch back up ever so slightly. You can see there they're not getting any further away from us, and round the left-hander, heading towards the finish line for the second time, and we're back well within striking distance. Well, not striking distance for an overtake, but we're back in the fight, in the mix for P3, certainly at this point anyway. And if we get the chance to work with the 2 drivers in front, that is what we plan to do. I don't want to make any bold manoeuvres and ruin the race for anybody else, and yeah, that's just not my style. However, you're about to see something happen to me, and that is being absolutely sent on and punted out of the way unceremoniously by the Russian driver. And this really really annoyed me. When I say I was seeing red, you don't understand how red I was seeing, because not only did he punt me out the way, he just drove off as if it never happened. Now, if there's one thing that will absolutely ruin a race for me, and that is when I feel like there's been an injustice and that the perpetrator, just drives off as if it never happened, or as if that was acceptable. You can see he gets his comeuppance there as he loses it going round the right-hander there off into the gravel, but that didn't really make me feel any better, I have to admit, because I'd lost 2 positions out of it. Admittedly, we've gained 1 back, but look at the gap now. We're not in a fight for P3 or the podium anymore. We're really just, you know, in a hopeful battle now to try and catch back up. And yeah, it was very, very disappointing, and I was really, really angry. I'd lost, I'm not going to lie, I had lost a lot of composure by this point, and I'm going for a move up the inside here, which he gives me the space for, and we make the move, we get it done, but we're susceptible here to the switchback. But we're just going to brake a little bit late because we don't want to get sent up the inside again, so we brake a little bit late. So does he behind us, and then we get a little bump and then a little tap and pushed wide again. Now, it wasn't anywhere near as bad as what had happened to me in the previous lap, but it cost me another position, and it's going to cost me another position because I'm now compromised coming out of that corner, and I've lost another place. So it was just going from bad to worse, and I felt that it was through no fault of my own. I can accept that I make mistakes and that I'm not the most consistent or quickest driver in the world, but when things like that happen to you in a race where you're just sitting behind the driver in front, you know, not planning on going for a move or dive bombing anybody, and then those things happen to you, you just wonder what the point is of being a clean driver when you're playing Gran Turismo 7. You can see there on the left hand side the Polish driver, who, now I'm not saying he was dirty, but he did tap me out of the way. There's a little bit of karma there as he leaves the track on the left hand side. So the people who are doing this, it's not as if you're holding them back in any way. They're just doing it and then making mistakes themselves. So I don't understand why there's the absolute desperation to get past somebody at every given opportunity, especially when the race is a little bit long. Now, here is something, you know, that's completely my fault. I just didn't turn in very well and lost it on the left hand side into the gravel, but I'm not looking for excuses, but my composure was still gone by that point. I wasn't thinking straight. I was still so annoyed about what had happened to me in the previous couple of laps that my whole driving style had just evaporated, and I was just really seeing red, trying to get round the track as quickly as I could and really determined not to lose any more positions. You can see in the radar here, I'm actually now being swarmed by another couple of drivers who are very quick. We've got Poloff on the left hand side of me coming round here, who is extremely quick. He's World Tour level quick, but we managed to hold him off, and we're managing to hold off Louis Vignac, another very quick driver. And well, normally I wouldn't try and hold up drivers who I clearly know are faster than me, but the red mist had descended by this point, and I was determined not to let anybody else pass me or basically take advantage of the situation that I've found myself in, which is way back in the pack when I should actually be up there fighting for at least P3 in the race. So it was going from bad to worse. I know you're probably listening to this now thinking, oh, give it a rest, but I'm sure we've all been there, and you can all relate to things like this happening to you on track and then just completely losing your cool. You can see here we're getting sent up the inside again, but you know, I was used to it at this point, so I was going to fight it fight it as much as I could. But again, it's difficult. You know, you're just losing time. I don't really want to be involved in scraps like this when it comes to racing at, you know, 11 lap race and there's only 6 laps in. I again, I get shoved a little bit wide on that corner, so sometimes you just feel like the punch bag that everybody just wants to take advantage of. And here, I thought about sending it again, but I just opted out, I backed out. I was starting to just want out of this race as quickly as I could, but I thought, no, we'll keep going, and then this happens. And yeah, I don't, even just watching this back and putting the commentary on this video, it's painful. It is really painful. Another two people just go up the inside. We're back in P10 now. We've still to make a pit stop. And do you know something? The worst, it hasn't even come yet. You're about to see the absolute cherry on top of the icing on the cake when it comes to this race. Into the pits. For some reason, clipped the wall, dropped down into first, spun into the wall, and I just wanted out of here, but it reset me to the track. All I wanted to do was go into the pits and sit. I wasn't even planning on coming back out of the pits, and here we are, forced into another lap. You can see here, the very next lap, we come into the pits. We're just going to come into the pits, and that is it. Race over for me. Now, you might think, well, you're just quitting, but honestly, I have to be honest with you guys, and that is to say, I was done by this point. I should have been fighting for P3, and there I was, just rage pitting. You can see here in the replay, this was a shocker of a lunge by the Russian driver. I still don't understand what made him do it. Maybe he missed his braking points, but if we look at it here, and you see, there's plenty of room to go up the left-hand side of me if he had chosen to do that, but he didn't. He decided he was going to go up the inside. One more time, let's just have a look here. We'll see here as we just freeze the frame. Now, look how far back he is, and at this point, he decides he's going to turn in. Now, he must have realised he'd missed his braking point by this point and decided to turn and go up the inside rather than bail out to the left and not affect my race, but that's not what he chose to do. And even if he'd pulled over and let me pass, it might have been a little bit better. But here's the next one where we've got the Polish driver, and you can see here it's the slightest of touches, but it's enough to send the back end out and get the move done. And again, I just don't agree with that type of passing manoeuvre. But anyway, that was that. That was the race that I wish had never happened and led me to this video, and you're probably fed up with me moaning about things for the last 10 minutes, and I apologise if that is the case. It's not always like this. However, if you do enjoy these rants and moans, then subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and I'll see you all on the next one. Goodbye.